Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, March 12th, 2026 meeting of the Active Transportation Commission. This meeting is now called to order. Will the clerk please call the roll to establish a quorum?
Thank you, Chair. Members, please unmute your microphones. Member Hodel is absent. Member Harris?
Here.
Member Gibson?
Here.
Member Wadhwani?
Here.
Member Racio Patel?
Here.
Member Member Hopt?
Here.
Member Tao?
Here.
Member Rubenstein?
Here.
Member Moore?
Present.
Member Amin is absent. Member Banks?
Here.
And Chair Gonzalez.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to remind members of the public and chambers, if you would like to speak on an agenda item, please turn in a speaker slip before this item begins. After an item is called, we will no longer accept any speaker slips. You have 2 minutes to speak once you're called on. We'll now proceed with today's agenda, and I'm going to ask, please stand, and Vice Chair Gibson will read today's acknowledgement of Indigenous people.
Please rise for the opening acknowledgements in honor of Sacramento's indigenous peoples and tribal lands. To the original people of this land, the Nisenan people, the Southern Maidu, Valley and Plains Miwok, Patwin, Wintu peoples, the people of the Wilton Rancheria, Sacramento's only federally recognized tribe, may we acknowledge and honor the Native people who came before us and still walk beside us today on these ancestral lands by choosing to gather together today in an active practice of acknowledgement and appreciation for Sacramento's indigenous people's history, contribution, and lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. One day. Okay, our first business today is the Commission staff report. Staff, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. For our staff report out today, I want to start out with a staff introduction. I'm very excited to introduce Virginia Morgan, who joined the transportation planning staff last week, and this is the, I think, third meeting in a row I've been able to introduce new staff. Unfortunately, that ends this meeting, but we're very happy to have her, and we are fully staffed up. I also do want to announce the Marysville Boulevard Quick Build construction project that we've seen here. That starts construction on Monday. So excited for that to move forward. Also want to report out that the Active Transportation Commission annual report was heard in front of the Budget and Audit Committee on Tuesday this week and was then forwarded to Council. So that'll be coming to Council at a future time, and I'll let you know when that is. We've got great comments. I'd like to thank outgoing Chair Hodel for doing that presentation in a very rushed way because we were very much behind on that meeting. But we got some great comments, and we're looking forward to advancing that to the City Council. I did also want to announce that both the Howe Avenue and Norwood Avenue plans were both adopted by City Council, I believe February 24th. And then my last update, I wanted to address the log item update that we talked about at the last meeting. Between the last meeting and when staff reports were due for this meeting, I had approximately 2.5 working days. So I was not able to get that together as I wanted to. So my approach is I would like to bring that as an item back to the Commission to discuss in April. So with that, I hand it back to the Chair.
Thank you very much. All right. Next up tonight is the approval of the consent calendar. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on the consent calendar?
Thank you, Chair. I have no speaker slips for the consent calendar.
Thank you very much. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak on this item? Not seeing any. Is there a motion and a second?
I'll move to approve.
Thank you.
I second.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Haupt and second by Commissioner Harris. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion passes. Now we're going to move things up on the agenda tonight. We're going to, instead of doing item 3 first, we're actually going to move to item 6, which is the T Street Bikeway Gap Closure Project. Is there a staff presentation? Come on up.
Hello, good evening. Can y'all hear me? There we go. Okay, my name is Kelly Lacey. I'm an assistant civil engineer with the city of Sacramento, here to present to you this evening on the T Street Bikeway Gap Closure Project. Is my handy dandy remote? There we go. Okay. Thank you. If I'm talking too fast, please just raise a hand. I have a tendency. Okay, so where is this project located? This project is just north of Sac Charter High School. The limits are 34th Street from Truckee Way to T, and T Street from 34th to Stockton Boulevard. So some background on this project. The city's active transportation plan, Streets for People, used public input to identify safety priorities for bikes and peds, identifying the need for continuous bike lanes on 34th and T, a ped crossing at 35th, and signal improvements at the intersection of T Street and Stockton Boulevard. Similarly, the Stockton Boulevard Corridor Plan, which I'm sure we're no stranger to here, identifies safety improvements for bikes and peds, but for the benefit of the existing community and businesses along Stockton Boulevard. The intersection of T and Stockton was further recognized as an area of interest. So some challenges of the intersection of T and Stockton include a skewed intersection with an extra signal phase for northbound cars exiting Gerber Avenue, and poor sight visibility of cross-traffic pedestrians and bicyclists. At this intersection, proposed improvements from the Stockton Boulevard Corridor Plan were to ban left turns from T Street onto Stockton, encouraging eastbound drivers to use 39th Street and westbound drivers to use 35th Street. It also proposed to remove the signal phase at Gerber Ave, allowing right turns only from T onto Gerber, and add a bike lane on the southbound Stockton approach to T Street. So why the T Street Gap Closure Project? Well, T Street has a gap in bike facilities. It's a key link between central Sacramento neighborhoods, medical services, and employment centers. It's got a lot of ped, bike, and vehicular traffic with a large rate of people commuting by foot or bike. Because of this and the complex nature of the Stockton, T Street, and Gerber intersection, T Street is a priority for safety improvements. Excuse me. To reduce conflict points, improve traffic flow, and provide safety of bikes and peds, the scope of this project includes the aforementioned right in, right out only at Gerber Ave with the elimination of the signal phase, the removal of the existing keep clear area north of Gerber and moving that stop bar on T Street eastward toward the Stockton intersection. Okay. So some existing conditions. Cars have a long queue waiting for their turn at the Stockton and T Street intersection. I imagine that makes them a little impatient. T Street has non-continuous narrow bike lanes next to multiple vehicular lanes. East of 35th, T Street narrows to one lane in both directions. And at that intersection of 35th and T, a few of those corners need compliant curb ramps. So some proposed improvements of this project are Class 2 bike lanes with green conflict markings, compliant ramps at 35th Street with the median island, a rectangular rapid flashing beacon, and a high visibility crosswalk. I know this exhibit at this time says that T Street under Highway 50 eastbound is one lane, but we're gonna keep it at two. We had some community input for that, so we're making sure we listen. Additionally, there's no eastbound bike lanes on either side of the intersection of Stockton and T. There's no, the crosswalks need upgrades, and vehicular sight visibility is not what it should be. So some additional improvements include high visibility crosswalks across that entire intersection, relocation of an RT bus stop. We're currently coordinating with them on where we're gonna put that, and shifting the alignment of vehicular lanes to accommodate the new Class 2 bike lanes. Project timeline. Last fall, we received feedback from our public outreach and community open house efforts. We're currently in preliminary design and developing a preliminary estimate. This summer, we hope to get to final design and complete our coordination efforts. Spring 2027 is our goal for advertisement and contract award, with construction starting in the fall of 2027 and construction complete, hopefully, by fall 2028. And that includes my super speedy presentation. Thank you. I'm open for questions.
Thank you very much. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item tonight?
Thank you, Chair. I do have one speaker slip, Dan Allison. Seems like I have two speakers. Our first speaker is going to be Dan Allison. If you can have the lectern, please.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Good evening, Commissioners. My comments are, this should be an active transportation project because it does include pedestrian improvements as well as bicycle, which is appropriate. Overall, the project addresses several known safety issues, but could be improved. The modification of Gerber Avenue is appreciated. As unsafe as bicycling through the T Street Stockton intersection is, it's even less safe for people walking. It's important that the south crosswalk be protected in some manner by a leading pedestrian interval or an exclusive pedestrian phase. And there needs to be a no right on red there. The current setback from the intersection accomplishes that, but once that setback is removed, it's important to have a no right on red. The diagram seems to show the T Street eastbound bike lane to the right of a right turn lane, optional right turn lane. That's unacceptable if both are moving at the same time. There needs to be an exclusive bicycle phase for at least part of the overall cycle to make it safe for bicyclists. No RFBs. We know that they don't work in Sacramento because our drivers don't respect them, so they should not be implemented any place. The presentation doesn't make clear why the Stockton Boulevard plan suggestion of a single through lane eastbound on T Street was dropped. It now shows 2 through lanes. There may be a reason for it, but the presentation doesn't address that. And Caltrans, I assume that time is up.
Oh, you had a few more seconds.
Okay, it cut off my mic. Okay, so the last thing is Caltrans should be responsible for additional lighting underneath the freeway. They intentionally did not place lighting when they darkened the underpasses. They need to be responsible for it, not the city. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Our next speaker is Larry Bernstein.
Yes, good evening. Thanks for letting me speak. I've been trying to get the bike lane fixed, crossing T Street, crossing Stockton at T Street since Jennifer Dolan was the bike person 7 years ago. So I'm actually thrilled that there are plans in place to actually do something because it's very dangerous for bicycles. I would agree with the last gentleman that the bike lane in the eastbound direction should not be in conflict with people making a right-hand turn from eastbound T Street onto southbound Stockton. That would be very dangerous. I'm a little disappointed that the plans don't include a bike box for bicycles to queue up at that intersection and proceed before the cars, but I realize there are a lot of moving parts there, and the staff is doing the best they can. Lastly, I was at the community meeting last fall where the diagrams showed T Street underneath the freeway reduced to 1 lane as it was during the construction project for a couple of years. That's a big problem for anybody trying to drive in a car eastbound into the Elmwood neighborhood, because during busy hours, during when there's a lot of traffic during rush hour, most of the traffic on that section of T Street is exiting the freeway, making 1 block north on 34th, and then turning right onto eastbound T Street. And there's so many cars there that they completely fill up those blocks and sometimes even queue up on 34th Street waiting to make the turn. At any rate, the point is that if there's only one lane,
Your time is
there's no place for cars, neighborhood cars, to go into
Your
Elmwood.
comments, your time is
There need to be
complete.
2 lanes.
Chair, I have no more speaker slips on this item.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments, everyone. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak on this item? You have to raise your hand, I think. Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Moore.
Thank you for the presentation. I just want to share, boy, this, we'll get it. Share the exuberance at the improvements that are being made, and then also share the, I think, concerns just at the intersection level. I second all of the improvements around Stockton and T Street, around dedicated phasing for cyclists and the no right turn on reds, especially at least for the conflicting movement there. The bike boxes were a big one that I noticed as well. So yeah, making the left-hand turn eastbound from T onto Stockton is just not doable. That intersection is so congested. For the scale of improvements that we're putting in on T Street, it would be great to see those at least bike boxes in front of the eastbound left-hand turn to get cyclists some room to make that. Similarly, in the current kind of broader network configuration, where 34th meets T Street, it would be great to have, the setback line is pretty far removed. It'd be great to use some of that space for a bike box. Right now, you have a lot of people immediately coming off the freeway. It's pretty uncomfortable to kind of start sharing the space with them as you're approaching that underpass. But nobody that wants to get to downtown is going to continue, well, few people continue straight because you don't want to have to go down Stockton. So you go left right there onto T Street to get to Alhambra. So a left turn bike box would be great for the northbound travel as well. I think just to make the case for all of these, specific dedicated improvements carrying through the intersection where it gets the most challenging, the city has very ambitious plans for Stockton, which are great to see. And if implemented, is ideally going to generate and induce a lot of demand for that from active transportation. And so if we're going to take the time and the investment now to start modifying parts of that, let's carry it through to meet the level of improvement that Stockton is currently planned for. I don't think that we're going to revisit this intersection from the vantage point of T Street when Stockton is being done. And even if we were, let's protect it now for people using it and not wait. So just wanted to add that, but thank you.
Thank you. I receive.
Commissioner Reto Patel.
I want to say, thank you, Chair, and I want to say I agree with Commissioner Moore's comments. I think that paint alone shouldn't be considered adequate safety infrastructure. I'd really like to see some of these designs maybe involving a concrete wall or something more substantial to protect cyclists on that lane, especially, it's very easy to make a right into T, I think, especially without like a no right on red signal, like Mr. Dan Ellison suggested. It could be a potential hazard to pedestrians and cyclists alike. I also think that there is a center bike lane on 34th Street. I didn't note what page it was on, but this design has not been successful in places that have tried to implement this. It's often intimidating even for the most experienced of cyclists to be between two vehicle lanes. And in places like Washington, D.C., where they have attempted and tried this design out, they're currently ripping it out and rethinking that. So I think we should strongly reconsider that. I would caution against that. It hasn't been successful where we tried it. But thank you. Those are my comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Rubenstein.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. Just some minor comments. I think procedurally, I personally would like to see KSI and PCF data for all the projects that we're looking at. I know that data was in some of the presentations that we're going to be reviewing today, but I didn't see it in the package for this one. I think that would be helpful as far as letting commissioners know what safety countermeasures should be on all the projects. On top of that, I'd like to echo Commissioner Moore's comments. Stockton Boulevard is going to be seeing heavier traffic volume, especially with developments such as Aggie Square. So we should be considering future-proofing it. And then I think somewhere in the project, there's some use of sharrows to do a left turn. I just looking at the visuals, I think there should be more protections for that turn there. That's one thing I noted. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Halt?
Thank you for the presentation. Just a brief question, and maybe this is as much for Mr. Doherty as our presenter. Is there any way to seek Caltrans to improve the lighting under the freeway? Is there any mechanism for that to happen?
We're happy to look into that. Did you want to address that?
So, hello, Judy Matsui from Department of Public Works. Excuse me. We've been working with Caltrans on the Highway 50 corridor project, just coordinating the work that they've been doing in the city. And so even during the time that we had our community meeting in December to now, they've actually still been adjusting and turning on the lighting in the WX area of this project. So just recently have they activated the lighting that is supposed to be the lighting at completion. Since then, the lights have been off. So I think Kelly's been driving that area to see what the current condition is now. It should be brighter than it's been over the last few years, though. But this project does propose some limited pedestrian scale lighting, but we're not obviously modifying the soffit lighting or the bridge lighting for the Highway 50.
Thank you.
Commissioner Banks?
Thanks for the presentation and welcome. Good to see you, nice to meet you. I'm just a +1 for these bike boxes on T Street for that left-hand turn. I actually ride my bike through there frequently and I'm not afraid. However, I can see how it would be incredibly overwhelming for a majority of people. So bike boxes on both sides of T Street for their left-hand turns would be fantastic. And I think it would be great to echo Dan's comment about letting pedestrians go first and letting cyclists go first in the cycle of lights would be amazing and very helpful for the dangerousness and the chaoticness of these intersections. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Gibson?
Hi, thank you all. In contrast to Commissioner Banks, I am not as confident of a cyclist. I'm a much more risk-averse cyclist. And so I have driven on this section many a times. I've never cycled on it, partly because I live on the other side of town. But also, in its current conditions, I certainly wouldn't, especially if I had a kid on me. So just a couple, first of all, thank you all for identifying this as a gap, but I think there's a lot of deficiencies. Just to be specific, on 34th Street, it is up in this image right now, a share road. I think those are have way too much conflict, especially for people getting on and off freeways, because I believe 34th is where is basically an off a freeway exit, and I think somebody's mentality rushing to work from a freeway is very different than your neighborhood street, where I'm fine biking in a share road when it's next to a school and the expectation is to go slow, but people coming off freeways are at a different mindset, is my prime for speed. Thank you, Commissioner Harris. And then following that, as if you were to continue, right, so I noticed there the paint that goes from just the bike lane paint, then to kind of a wider white. See that? That, as a driver, I would be kind of confused. Like, I can't go just straight. I have to like turn left, then turn a little bit.
On that eastbound?
Yeah, going.
It's going to remain, it's going to be 2 lanes.
Oh, that's.
Yeah. I had mentioned it.
Okay.
We don't have the updated exhibit up. This is from the community meeting, so we brought you what everybody else was able to see. But that eastbound lane underneath will be 2 lanes.
Oh, well, I would be very hesitant to continue with 2 lanes as opposed to 1. And if you do choose 2 lanes, then there must be higher level protection for cyclists. At minimum, a class 4, having poured concrete, bollards, because it's easy for a car to drive into a class 2 bike lane, especially if they're coming off from a freeway mentality where open car space or open freeway space or road space, some people take it, unfortunately. And there are a lot of people who have lifted trucks nowadays. So any kind of physical protection like concrete, poured concrete actually goes way further to limit the people that choose to disobey traffic laws, because those are the people who tend to cause more problems. And that just continues throughout the corridor. So I really wouldn't feel confident cycling on a Class 2 lane today, especially knowing how it's loud and there's low lighting. But if there was more physical protection all across the lane, those are kind of the summation of my comments. And I just do want to say I'm friends with a public commenter who mentioned that they were in a near miss while cycling here. So I'm glad it was a near miss for a personal friend of mine.
Thank you, and I hope he's okay, your friend.
All right, not seeing any other commissioners that wish to speak. I just want to thank everybody in the audience who came out to speak on this item tonight, and everyone online who provided e-comments in advance. I want to echo the comments of Dan Allison about the no right turn on red on the westbound section of T Street crossing, on the eastbound section of T Street crossing Stockton Boulevard. There already is a no right turn on red on the westbound section currently. And I've watched it pretty well. There's a pretty good adoption right there. People tend to respect that sign, so we'd love to see it as well. My mic is on. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. I also want to echo the comments about RFBs. RFBs are not a mitigation method that anyone should rely on. If anything, they provide many users with the false sense of security that they have now the freedom to pass without danger, but they are not respected in the city of Sacramento at all. So I'm adamant about that on many different occasions. Yeah, that's all for me.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the presentation. All right. Now we're going to move backwards to item 3, the Fruit Ridge Road Safety and Mobility Plan. I think there is a staff presentation because staff just got up and left, and I think they're going to the podium now.
Thank you, Chair, members of the commission. Forgive me while I awkwardly come down from the dais to present. The item in front of you this evening is the Fruit Ridge Safety and Mobility Plan. Wanted to bring you up to speed as we are in our first stage of engagement for this plan. This project kicked off in January of July of last year, and we've just completed its first stage of engagement, or about to complete its first stage of engagement. And the goals for this project really are, first and foremost, we've been out asking the community, what are your visions for this corridor? And, are the concepts that we're trying to bring forward, reflective of that? We're really trying to connect multiple modal options across this corridor. It's a 4.5 mile long corridor. It's quite long, so there's a lot of opportunities here. And also really, we need to create a network that really addresses daily needs along this corridor. But first and foremost, also, how do we economically activate this corridor moving forward? So as I said, it's a very long corridor. This is Fruit Ridge Road that stretches from Riverside Boulevard, actually that western section is known as Seamus Avenue, all the way to Stockton Boulevard. It's about 4.5 miles, goes all the way, includes a section through the county. So it's quite a long and diverse section of roadway that we're looking at in the study. And why are we doing this? Well, parts of Fruit Ridge, actually most of Fruit Ridge, lie on the city's high injury network. And it's been highly prioritized under the Transportation Priorities Plan. It is identified as a Class 4 separated bikeway opportunity in the Streets for People plan that was adopted in December. And also the general plan identified this as an area that could see future roadway reallocations, or as we call them, road diets, throughout this corridor. So we have some, one of the primary issues on this corridor is safety. We have a lot of collision history on this corridor, whether you are either in a vehicle or walking or on bike. This graphic shows about a 9-year vehicular collision history. Actually, this is all mode history with a lot of serious injuries and fatalities. This is the slide, I think, that really kind of tells the story for why we're doing this project specifically. You'll see in the graph at the top, about 14% of all collisions involve a pedestrian or a cyclist. The rest involve both vehiculars. But the KSI collisions, or the killed and serious injury collisions on this corridor, are predominantly people who are walking and biking on this corridor. It really needs some options along this corridor to really meet the needs of all people who are using this corridor. As I said, there's some good opportunity for some proposed bikeways through the Streets for People's plan. Our consultant team and some of the project team did bike this entire corridor, and it was it's been included in several of our engagement opportunities for their presentation through, and definitely stressed that it is not a comfortable biking environment the way it currently sits. So where are we now on the project? We are in this phase 1, that listening and awareness portion of it, and that will be wrapping up at the end of March. We had a community meeting last Wednesday. We had about 40 attendees and some good press events, some good press attendance from that, and some great feedback from that meeting. So we were really happy to hear that. The community vision that really aligns with the city's vision on this corridor. So we're going to then move into that design and discuss corridor, or phase of the project, excuse me. That will be done towards summer, maybe into early and mid-summer, and then we'll come back to you with some of the proposals that we have and concepts that we have for this corridor. And then from then we go into fall, well, we will be adopting a final draft plan and coming back again, checking in with you to see does this meet the mark. And then we're looking for that final adoption that'll happen in spring of 2027. And this adheres to the grant guideline goals for the Caltrans planning grant that we got to fund this project. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions we have. I also have members of the consultant team here in the crowd as well.
Thank you very much. Clerk, are there any members of the public who wish to speak on this item tonight?
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 speakers. Our first speaker is Matt Anderson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. JDW, Megan, if you're up there, good to see you. And I'm here briefly to chat about this project. Didn't put my thoughts all in order, so I'll go quickly, and it might be a little jumbled. Apologies. But feedback I would give on this is going to ask you to break the rules here, because if I were an engineer, I'd look at this and say 37,000 ADT, no road diet, get out of here. But I think there's some great ways you could get around that, and really ADT doesn't matter, it's the intersections anyways, but I really hope that all of the options are evaluated for this, and that a lot of opportunities are taken. There was the last Fruit Ridge plan that was just approved, kind of in the Alta sense of the word, gave up at the intersections a little bit. So I hope to see that in this plan that continues through its continuous class 4s, if class 4 is kind of what this was talking about, goes through all the way. Also, there's a couple slip lanes as you go, quite a few slip lanes actually. So I don't know if that's on the plan to close or not, but I hope that's discussed. And then there's a lot of driveways, and that's not really a conversation that's been had, but every driveway is another point of conflict. And there's a lot of driveways on corner lots where they have access on the side road. And so I really hope, that's a heck of a lot more work for staff. Maybe that's something ATC could do, talk to your neighbors. I don't know. I'll leave that one there. You all can figure that out. But that would be really cool if that were addressed during this phase, because I think that will affect the design pretty significantly. And then I'm just curious, a general question about SAC-RT and transit on this corridor. I know this is like preliminary, super high level, but that's a lot of cars going through there, a lot of people. So wondering what the SAC-RT has planned for this and how that coordination is going to happen. So appreciate you letting me get all those random thoughts out, and thank you so much for this project, because anything that's more safety on high injury network is always appreciated from all of us.
Thank you for your comments. Our last speaker is Zach Trowbridge.
Hello, Commissioners. I'm Melissa. Speaking in support of this project, I'm a resident of Mendocino Boulevard, which intersects with East Fruit Ridge, just east of Highway 99. The area from the infographic you just showed with like the heat map showed that intersection is very dense for collisions. And I just want to call attention to the fact that Mendocino Boulevard is a direct connection between Oak Ridge Elementary School that was just completed, a brand new finished elementary school, immediately adjacent to Christian Brothers High School. We see a ton of kids walking down Mendocino towards Fruit Ridge, and I think that there's a project going on that I hope everyone knows about that will cause that to increase a lot. There's a huge investment going into Fruit Ridge Community Center right now. As an active project funded with $7.5 million from Prop 68 in 2021. Construction's happening already. It'll be a huge improvement, and I believe that the South Oak Park neighborhoods will utilize the community center pretty significantly, along with obviously the Oak Ridge kids and probably the Christian Brother kids. So Mendocino Boulevard and the intersection with Fruit Ridge is very close to the community center. And the crossings there are not protected at all right now. So I hope that that's like a high priority for this project, that's going to be outlined to be like very well protected crosswalks for kids to be able to get to the community center and back. Crossing around the community center across Fruit Ridge should be, I think, a top priority for stuff east of 99, protected pedestrian crossings in preparation for use by all of the kids coming out of these schools. So for anyone who doesn't know, the construction at Fruit Ridge Community Center includes a brand new soccer field, 2 futsal courts and lighting for them, group picnic barbecue areas with shades, pool shades, structural and sitting areas, community gardens, welcome plazas, looped walkway paths with exercise stations, themed demonstration plant gardens, game areas with table games, cornhole, public art throughout, new restrooms, a full renovation of the existing aquatic center, a new soccer field, new basketball courts, lighting, playgrounds with shade
Thank you
sails.
for your comments. Your time is complete.
It's going to be amazing. Let's make it safe.
Thank you for your comments. Chair, I have no more speakers on this item.
Thank you. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak on this item? Commissioner Dow?
Thank you, Chair Gonzalez. My question is, it sounds like for stage 2 of the project, we'll be engaging with additional partners into the project. Just wanted to see if that would include the RT and their plans for this corridor as well, if any.
Yeah, we'll definitely be working with RT on this. I failed to mention it is a pretty vibrant transit corridor as well, including crisscrossing light rail station there at Fruit Ridge. So we're looking at a lot of connections to that transit to make it additional ridership and more feasible.
Commissioner Banks.
To the point about transit and the intersection here, Sacramento RT currently has an open survey so that people can put in their comments about transit, especially on Fruit Ridge and the light rail station there. They are collecting information about it. We happen to be a part of a TAC about that. So there's no doubt about it. I know that Mr. Doherty and the SAC-RT folks are starting to work on how those intersections work, but I highly encourage everybody to weigh in on the SAC-RT plan because they're doing community engagement right now.
Commissioner Harris?
Would it be possible to go back to the overall picture of the high entry network? That one will work as well. That's what I was looking for. I know it's really small, but your last image also highlighted this. You know, a lot of our high injury networks are right next to the city-county divide, and the last image you showed really highlights that. As somebody who's in District 2, we have this issue as well, where some of our high injury networks and Auburn, which we're going to talk about, is again at that divide. Can you talk a little bit about how you're addressing that? I know it's a planning challenge to work with a different entity. The county has its own solutions, but it does feel like sometimes, and I know we're working to address that, these are the margins that get forgotten about. They're sort of the here be dragons for providing connectivity, and people who live in the city and the county don't necessarily have that same experience. They cross those lines. So could you talk a little bit about how you're coordinating and addressing that issue?
Yeah, we do a lot of coordination with the county, especially on these projects that do cross over into the county or abut to it. Arden Way, Auburn Boulevard project is a great example, because that project ends at Ethan, and then the county is from there on. It actually butts up to the county's project that they just finished for an active transportation project there. So it's really a good, forgetting the word I'm talking about. Those projects will work well together. For this project specifically, we have engaged the county. They've actually identified the section of the county that Fruit Ridge goes through as their Board of Supervisors have adopted that as a road diet opportunity as well, or as a right-of-way reallocation. So we're working with them. We're also working with our partners in Caltrans to identify, the projects that cross over into Caltrans right-of-way. Usually have a lot of coordination that we have to do with Caltrans because they're really concerned about backing up onto the freeway. Our concerns is these high-speed slip lanes that go on to especially these older style interchanges throughout the city. So there's a lot of opportunity. We do a lot of coordination with Caltrans as well.
I appreciate that, and just any continued, engagement. I know you guys are really doing it. I really appreciate it. It does feel like a cultural shift, at least in the built culture, to really treat these areas as locations that people live versus places people drive through. Thank you.
Right, and just to reiterate, I mean, most people, this, when you go back and forth between the city and the county or different cities, most people in this region don't recognize that. They're just going to where they go. So it needs to be fluid and work together and partnerships formed.
All right, no other commissioners. I'll just take a few moments here. I just want to say thank you for the presentation. In speaking about the county and city boundaries there, I want to say I believe the county of Sacramento did a grave disservice to the residents and everyone else who uses Fruit Ridge Road when a few years ago they repaved basically everything from Stockton to Highway 99 and didn't change anything in the striping, did no road diets, did no additional improvements whatsoever, to spend that much money and not make one iota of improvements to the active transportation corridor at all. It was a huge disservice. And when I say the word grave, I mean grave. Our first pedestrian fatality of 2026 was on this road, right where we're talking about it right now. And on the active transportation Vision Zero crash test board of the city of Sacramento, between 2013 and 2025, just between the light rail station and Stockton Boulevard, we have at least 7 fatalities that we can record. That only goes back to 2013. If you go back to 2012 and just past this jurisdiction, that's where Michelle Manrigi, a sophomore from West Campus High School, was killed in an intersection in the crosswalk. Fruit Ridge Road is such a dangerous road. We know this. We need no more data to prove it. So thank you so much for doing this work and for doing anything you can to eliminate it. I live right now in South Tahoe Park. One of my favorite entertainment locations is on Freeport Boulevard near the old Rayleighs. And I drive down the street 2 or 3 times a week. And last night, I actually had 3 cyclists enter the lane. We're talking about driveways. The driveways, cyclists can easily leave a parking lot and get right into the lane. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, they don't always look. Accidents happen, but they become KSIs and fatalities because of the speed of the vehicles, which no cyclist, no pedestrian can have any influence or whatever. When people feel comfortable driving as fast as they do on Fruit Ridge Road, that's where we end up with fatalities. So anything we do to slow cars down, anything we can do to improve the infrastructure for active transportation is highly, 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 highly needed. Thank you for your efforts, and we look forward to continuing to hear more updates as they come out. All right. With that, we're going to move on to item 4, and that's the Arden-Auburn Mobility Plan. Is there a staff presentation for this? Thank you, Chris.
All right. Hi, good evening. Oh, do I need to start over?
Thanks for waiting. While we can hear you, anyone at home can't. So let's wait till we get the microphone settled out. We've done that, and to IT's credit, they've acted on previous recommendations. So thank them. And our
Is
old.
this the quick build?
Yeah, quick build. Oh, don't call it quick build. We haven't even hired quick build. We barely, 1 year later, hired our quick builds. And while you're working on the mic, we could also work on the AC in here. Would be nice. A little warm. It is warm up here. No, it's not. Yeah, so it's a lot cooler without the broccoli hat.
Thank you.
All right.
All right, so today I'll be giving a high-level update on the Arden Way and Auburn Boulevard mobility plan, really how we got here, what we've done so far, and what's to come. Here's a quick overview of everything that I'll touch on. So to really orient ourselves, this planning effort is focused on 2 major commercial corridors in North Sacramento. Arden Way, the endpoints are from Del Paso Boulevard to the west, all the way to Ethan Way on the east, and then the segment of Auburn Boulevard that includes a bit of Harvard Street from Arden Way up to Marconi Circle. If you're familiar with where the Marconi Light Rail Station is, that's our focus area. So for those of you that regularly travel around this section of Sacramento, you're probably familiar that there is a bit of a unique grouping of land uses here. There's a lot of destinations, jobs, schools, public transit stops, as well as shopping, entertainment with the mall and Cal Expo, but also quite a few healthcare centers as well. So we know that people are traveling here quite often. A lot of people live around here. But what you might not know is that, unfortunately, both segments of these corridors are part of the City of Sacramento's high injury network, which I'm sure you are familiar, really means that they experience the highest number of serious and fatal crashes in the city. And the most eastern segment of Arden Way is actually on the city's top 10 corridor list. So obviously, we know that there's a very serious need to address safety and multimodal connectivity and access throughout this project area. And the city applied for and received a Caltrans grant to do a safety study and develop a safety and mobility plan for this project area that will include some high-level conceptual designs for safety and access improvements, as well as a prioritized list of projects that our team can then move forward and pursue funding for engineering, final design, and construction phases later on. So something that our team has developed is a list of draft goals and objectives. We really want to, in addition to getting your input on these as the commission, also get the community's input. Right now we're looking at safety, equity, multimodal mobility, livability and placemaking, and feasibility and implementation as our top goals and objectives for this. And this is important because this is really going to ground our future improvement ideas and designs to ensure that anything that comes out of this plan can meet at least one, if not all of these goals. So just think about this back in your mind today. You can also email me later on if you think that there's something missing from here. So work on this project so far has been pretty parallel to the Fruit Ridge Road plan. So we began work back in July of last year. The project team went out, walked the area, and we recently finished our existing conditions analysis, so data collection, some analysis on data that includes looking at traffic speeds and volumes, level of traffic stress for people who are walking and biking in the project area, as well as collision history on both Arden Way and Auburn Boulevard. We took a look at transit ridership, so both light rail and bus stops, boardings and alightings, as well as census data, really honing in on our population density and job density, as well as level of service for the intersections that are stop controlled here. Oops, too fast. So ultimately, all of this data is really helping us start to get a picture of how are people traveling in the area, where are they going to, where might they experience some challenges or pain points. But as we all know, data doesn't tell us the whole story. They are just numbers, points on a map. So we recently kicked off our first phase of community engagement for this effort. We held our first community workshop yesterday evening. We had about a dozen community members come out, so not a huge turnout, but I will say that folks that came spent almost the entire workshop time with us, giving their very detailed and personal experiences of what it's like to use all modes in the corridor area. And it's not our only touch point with the community. We have an online survey that's open now through the end of March, and we'll also be going out to the community in 2 pop-up workshops in a couple weeks. The first will be March 21st at Arden Fair Mall, and then the second will be on March 24th. Our team will be at the Arden Del Paso Light Rail Station. So we're going to take all the feedback that we get from the rest of this month and then come back to you around the May-June timeframe with those initial early draft ideas for improvements, things for all of you to respond to. We'll take all of that feedback and then come back in the fall later this year to provide the draft plan for your input. So if you want to go ahead, if you haven't already, scan that QR code, sign up for updates on this project. We would also really appreciate the Commission's help with any ideas on other community-based organizations, neighborhood groups. If you've got personal friends or family in the area, share information with them. We're happy to take suggestions for other partners to involve and your ideas for those draft goals and objectives. So that's all I've got for today. Happy to take questions.
Much. Is there any speaker slips on this item?
Thank you, Chair. I have one speaker on this item, Dan Allison. Oh, my apologies. That is for the next item. Chair, we have no speakers.
Are you sure, Dan? All right. That's weird. All right. Are there any commissioners who wish to speak on this item? Excuse me, Commissioner Harris.
I want to say I'm a little disappointed that Dan Allison isn't speaking about this project. I'm taking it a little personally as a District 2 member. I'm looking at you, Dan, and others that regularly come. So this is an invitation to take your technical expertise and give us your best ideas. I went to the meeting last night. I know it's a shock. And I just want you to know I'm like half the comments on there. It was a great workshop, but I'm probably the most vocal, opinionated person who showed up. But it was really well done. And I just want to compliment the staff working on this, the consultants. It was great. If you can't make one of those pop-ups, please engage. This area is, like I said, also one of those challenging boundaries. A lot of people don't think of the Arden Mall as part of the city even, and it's a really conflicted or diverse area of uses, and so a road diet just isn't going to solve all the problems. It has a lot of complicated crossings. It's also an area that's really overlooked. So we talk about the rail project, or the infill project in West Sacramento and around the new stadium, all the great stuff happening around Sac State, but this area has a ton of new developments. So if you're not aware, you had a picture of it in there along Arden Way. There's also Wood Lake is getting some infill right there. There's another one I was gonna bring up. Oh, and of course at Arden Mall itself, if you're on the freeway, you're gonna see it there as well. So this is an area of a lot of growth and a huge area of potential. So if you care, if you're interested in rail-based transit, bus transit, and everything else, I'm really encourage you to reach out. So thank you so much.
Vice Chair Gibson.
I believe on slide 5, you caught that new development that came in just a few years ago. And it really does actually capture in one snapshot if you're a road user where there is there isn't the light rail there, but I was hoping the light rail there was, but
It wouldn't fit on the slide.
yeah, cropping. Where unfortunately there are a lot of people who walk across the street. The active transportation network there is inconsistent at best. And then specifically when you get right before the mall, if you are traveling westbound towards the mall, there isn't sidewalks. I was hoping Commissioner Harris would bring up a lack of sidewalks, but there's a lot of lack of sidewalks from there. So, from one of our population-wise most densest neighborhoods to our densest commercial center, it is very hostile to get there. And I've used this road, actually it's personally one of my top 3 stroads I use in Sacramento. So very aware. And so I just want to thank you again for your efforts, but just for specifics, sidewalks, and recognizing there's a lot of infill development with all the light rail there. Our city is in a housing shortage, so hopefully we can build more housing in those areas. But if it's uncomfortable, the nice way to put it, to walk somewhere else, then maybe we shouldn't be encouraging that much. So thank you.
Thank you. I will add on that we have been meeting one-on-one with a couple of the different property management companies. So for the Eames, the Palms, I believe tomorrow we are meeting with the Salvatore apartment manager. So we should be able to reach those tenants and also have them be part of the process.
Commissioner Risho Patel.
Thank you, Chair. I'm curious to know what community organizations and what businesses you've been in partnership with, and like to what extent is this for outreach or for like the development of the design?
Do you want me to list them off? I have them here. Okay, so earlier at the end of February, we held 2 focus group meetings, one focused on business interests and another on more of our community-based organizations and advocacy groups. So for business interests, we have several of the different chambers of commerce. There's about 3 or 4 out there. So the Howe Arden Shopping Center, North Sacramento Chamber, Greater Arden Chamber of Commerce. We also had Sutter Urgent Care come out since they have a facility there. Arden Fair Mall came out to that, and a couple others that were invited but just didn't attend. We are still trying to get a contact for Cal Expo, so if anybody has a best friend who knows them, please leverage that. Our community advisory group, we had representatives from SABA there, AARP, Mutual Assistance Network, the Greater Sacramento Urban League, the Rancho del Paso Neighborhood Association, and Vida de Oro, and several of the schools and other community groups and neighborhoods in the area were also invited. So I'm happy to send out the full list.
I'd like to suggest also reaching out to certain, like, I guess, faith-based organizations. They generally have a really strong relationship with a captive audience, and so they may be willing to get the word out and help get people engaged on this project.
Yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Moore.
You probably have reached out, but I would just, to tack on to the engagement group, Civic Thread would be a great one in this area for other safe routes to school. To the 2 things that were down, is this is within the planning area of reconnecting communities? Are we, okay.
Yeah, because
It's around like that 160.
back to the map, yeah. So on the western segment, we end right at Del Paso, so there is a bit of overlap there.
Okay, I just want to make sure that things are kind of coordinated for those 2 efforts. Fantastic. And then in terms of the ways that Auburn Boulevard is being analyzed, it does parallel that kind of I-80, I think it is. Are we looking at how much of that is kind of like bypass traffic and where some of those traffic patterns are coming from? And I guess I'm curious if it shows that there's a significant amount of just kind of bypass traffic from congestion. How aggressive is the city willing to be in modifying it to make it a more locally serving road?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think just anecdotally, we have heard from some of the property owners and the general manager of the Hilton, who also uses Auburn Boulevard to bypass the freeway and get to his job every day, that a lot of that traffic is to bypass the freeway. I'm also going to point out that just based on some preliminary looking at Strava, a lot of bicyclists use this route in order to connect to the bike trail. I think they connect to Fee and then get down to the trail. So I think just knowing this, that's just something else that can give us that lens of added context. But I can go ahead and check with our consultant team for specifics on that traffic question.
That's it for me.
Commissioner Banks.
Thanks, Nicole, for the presentation. I've already given comments on the project. But it's more of a question, actually, for you, Chris. In all of these presentations that we sit through and listen to, we hear a lot about the crashes on the road and the streets that we're trying to change. All good, no problem. But what I don't hear about, and when I was at your meeting a couple weeks ago, it dawned on me, it's like, what I don't know is who are the families that are living around this road? We don't get any information about the ages of the people that are, give or take, how many families have kids, kind of what those ages are, and we can find that information out. It's accessible. So the presentations always still feel very car-centric, not people-centric. Because if we know who lives around these areas, then we are starting to also consider designing for the families that live there, or how many people are passing through to get from point A to point B versus those that are stopping to get into their driveway or into their, smaller neighborhood. So it's a larger question about how do we start to also collect that information? Because I think it gives us also a broader context of who are we redesigning for, and how do we make those streets safer, not just for the vehicles on the street and the bicyclists and the pedestrians, but for the larger neighborhoods that we're working on. Thanks.
No, we're happy to include that. I know for both these projects, we have taken a look at the demographic data and definitely has influenced our decision. We're happy as we go forward to include that into our presentations moving forward. But this is a unique area because it's emerging, especially for residential housing in certain areas of it. So it's rapidly evolving. So it's very interesting to take a look at a fresh look at some of these streets.
Commissioner Wally.
Thank you for the presentation. This is just a curiosity question. You mentioned that you reached out to Arden Mall. It's rare when we're looking at a project like this to have an entity with quite that much land use. I'm not clear on exactly what the entity is, how they can engage, and what their perspective would be. If you want to just talk a little bit about how that engagement has gone.
Sure. So we had 2 representatives from the Arden Fair Mall. They're really the property management group, attend our first focus group. They actually shared with us that they are going through a revitalization effort right now. So they're looking to connect with the city's economic development team. They're looking at updating a lot of the frontage and facade pieces, potentially some driveway changes. So I think in terms of timing, they're quite engaged and would like to see where there are efforts, right, for us to partner and see how we can make the space a bit more inviting for people who are coming to the mall. They firsthand experience what it's like driving in that parking lot. So I think, it's very top of mind for them. They want people who are visiting their facility to have an enjoyable time. And so I think this project can help enhance that as well.
Commissioner Harris.
I can't help myself. So I'm so excited. So I will answer, yes, it's a bypass on Arden for traffic, as I've said in my notes. And yes, it is one of the bikeways along Roseville. So if anyone was curious, that is definitely anecdotally the way it goes. But if I have to give you another reason you should be excited, Dan and others, on why you should engage is looking at this map and talking about Cal Expo. If you don't know what's really exciting going on is there is a bridge crossing that we talked about in this commission going across just in that blue section, sort of, blue-green, dark green. So we are getting bikes across the river to Cal Expo, and then if you give really good comments and we get this through, you could make it to Arden Mall all the way. So it is very, very exciting that we could actually get bicyclists and walkers from the central city all the way with your input. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I just have a few comments. I was lucky enough to work on the Dixie Ann Clean and Green Alleyway project with Sparky Harris a few years ago, where we completed the rehabilitation of some abandoned, closed alleyways north and south through the Dixie Ann neighborhood. And Dixie Ann 2.0 is coming. So that contract is in final negotiation now. I'll be on that project as well. And when you showed that housing there on Arden, that's going to help do some great connectivity and active transportation there. So I hope that's out into some consideration too. And just looking forward to seeing the next steps of this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next up is item 5. We're at the Stockton Boulevard Safety and Transit Enhancement Project. Is there a staff presentation for this?
Hi, good evening, Commission. Jesse Gotham with City of Sacramento Public Works Engineering Services, working on the project delivery for this project. So this is a partnership. We're delivering this project along with the county and SAC-RT staff. These funds were provided to us in the SACOG 2023 funding round. So the consultant team was selected last year, and we've been working very hard, doing our data collection, doing our analysis, and so we're very excited to roll out some alternatives for you. And I'm very happy that Greg Kyle was able to be with us this evening. Greg has extensive experience with transit improvements in the LA region as well as in Seattle. So I was really happy he could give you the overview rather than myself. So over to you, Greg.
Good evening, everyone. I'll walk us through our slide presentation. I'm going to go pretty quick because we have quite a few slides. And some of it is information that you probably already know that's more geared for the general public. But as Jesse mentioned, this project is being advanced in partnership with both Sacramento County and SAC-RT. And right now, the project is funded for the first two stages, the alternatives analysis, which we anticipate completing towards the middle of this year, and then the subsequent environmental review and preliminary engineering phase, which would occur over the second half of 2026 and 2027. This slide shows a project area map, and the project includes two primary components. One is a bus rapid transit component that will extend on the south end from the Florin Town Center north to the Sac Valley Station. And then layered in there is also a complete streets improvements project, and that limits are on the south end from Stockton and Florin up to the Stockton-Alhambra intersection. And similar to some of the other presentations that I saw today, we've also developed a vision for this corridor, and some of the primary components include enhancing safety, advancing a complete street project to really transform this corridor that has been geared towards vehicular movement into a multimodal corridor. We want to advance the bus rapid transit to provide a premium transit service, really building upon a strong core of ridership. The existing Route 51 along Stockton Boulevard is the highest ridership route in the SAC-RT bus system. We're looking at sustainability with this project also and being able to adapt to a changing climate, in particular for active transportation users and for transit riders, making sure that there are better amenities and for folks that are waiting for the bus, and then really providing a project that is going to foster access and opportunities for the community along the corridor. And we've used those purposes to then drill down with objectives in terms of improving safety, reducing the fatal and serious injury crashes along the corridor, providing safe corridors for walking, cycling, and accessing transit, wanting to build upon that strong base of existing transit ridership and increase the transit ridership and the modal split for transit in the corridor, supporting economic development and access for the community to jobs, education opportunities, and so forth. And then our final purpose is we want to develop a physically responsible project so that we don't do a study that becomes something that gets put on a bookshelf. Want to be able to advance something that is going to be able to be fundable and built within a reasonable time frame. So first going to focus on the bus rapid transit component of the project, and some of these slides are geared towards the public, providing them a definition of what bus rapid transit is, and that's a high-quality bus system, sometimes referred to as a light rail on rubber tires, that provides more frequent service and more reliable service also, where it's a more consistent travel time along the corridor for the transit users. And there are several components of the project that could be advanced to provide as part of the BRT improvements, including dedicated bus lanes and portions or all of the corridor to provide the faster and more consistent travel times, traffic signal priority measures where when a bus is approaching an intersection, the light may extend in green for a longer duration in order to allow the bus to proceed through the intersection with improved travel time. The enhanced stations providing amenities such as better shelters, protection from the elements, as well as speeding up the boarding process to help speed up the route, and building on what's already pretty frequent in service in the corridor, but maybe even increasing that service a little bit more so there's less time waiting for the next bus. And an important portion, a component of bus rapid transit is the branding of it. Differentiating it from a local bus service, it's something that's faster and more frequent. And for the project right now, we're looking at two alternative alignments between the Florin Town Center and the Sac Valley Station. The alternative one is just following the existing alignment of the Route 51. So it proceeds along Stockton Boulevard, north to Broadway, travels west on Broadway, and then comes into downtown along 8th and 9th Streets. And our second alternative, we're calling the hybrid alternative, or the Route 5138 hybrid alternative. This route would run along Stockton, north to Broadway, similar to the Route 51, but then would take the Route 38 alignment into downtown to access the Sac Valley Station. So it would continue to run along Stockton, north to T Street, then along 29th and 30th Streets, and then continue to the Sac Valley Station along J and L Streets. And what we're seeing as we're going through here with the alternatives, these two alternatives, is that some of the advantages of the alternative one, you have a strong ridership along the Broadway component of the project that would benefit from the bus rapid transit also. Some of the advantages of the Route 25138 hybrid alternative is that it serves the medical district, Aggie Square, where there's a lot of future growth that is already occurring and would provide access to that for the communities to the south. Pivoting now to the complete streets, and our complete streets definition for the public is it's a road that's designed to be safe for all users. And the goal is for the street to be accessible for everyone, no matter which mode they're using, as well as the level of their abilities. And we say may include for the complete streets definition, because we'll get into some of the trade-offs, but things that are being looked at include dedicated bike facilities, wider sidewalks, improved pedestrian crossings, as well as dedicated bus lanes. And on the right side of this slide, we have a travel mode hierarchy that we've developed to apply to the project. And we start with the most vulnerable users at the top of the hierarchy, those walking and rolling, and work our way down to cyclists and users of micromobility, electric type of devices, with public transit, and the lowest on the hierarchy is the vehicle traffic in the corridor. And now I'm going to walk through a sample corridor segment, and we've divided the corridor into several segments, generally based upon the width and the cross sections of the corridor and the amount of space that we have to work with in terms of developing improvements. And so this section between Elder Creek and 20th Avenue, slide here just shows the existing conditions. What you see is there's the picture on the left, generally 5-foot sidewalks, not much separation from travel lanes where vehicles move at fast speeds, often utility poles and other obstructions within those narrow sidewalks. The pictures on the right just kind of show even behind the back of sidewalks. If we do look to widen, there are quite a few considerations, trees within there that have value within the community, as well as utilities that will be expensive to relocate. Also in the bottom picture, what we see is that there's quite a few driveways with the commercial uses along the corridor, which really makes it challenging for pedestrians and cyclists along the corridor. And so I'm going to walk through 3 preliminary options that have been developed for this section of the corridor, and they range from the kind of the quick build, what can we do quickly at a lower cost, to more intensive improvements that are higher cost. And so this first set of improvements really looks to keep the improvements within the existing curb-to-curb width of the street, which is about 64 feet wide. And so what we show on this slide is introducing dedicated bus lanes. Adjacent to the dedicated bus lanes, we do have bike lanes that do not have a buffer, but the bus lanes do help provide a buffer from the vehicle traffic. And so some of the advantages of this: it is cost effective, could be built relatively quickly, less disruptive. There's not going to be many impacts to the utilities along the corridor or to private property, which in a lot of locations has actually expanded their parking lots and into the public right-of-way. And with this, we do see that there could be some opportunities to explore sidewalk widening at locations where there are utility poles or something that's presenting an obstruction for the pedestrians. some of the trade-offs or negatives associated with this. We have narrow Class 2 bike lanes. There's not a buffer, although the bus lanes do help provide a little bit of a buffer. And in general, there's nominal improvements with this alternative for cyclists and pedestrians. So now I'll go to the next alternative, Alternative B. And this alternative begins to look at extending the improvements beyond the existing curb-to-curb width. And so with this option, we actually maintain that existing curb on one side of the street, but on the other side of the street, we introduce a shared use path. Some of the advantages of this alternative is that it widens the existing sidewalk on one side of the road, so you've got a better facility. Also, the improvements within this alternative do not extend beyond the back of sidewalk, where we see that there's a lot of challenges that would be associated and added cost to the project. In terms of some of the negatives or trade-offs, there is a higher cost with this. It requires sidewalk, curb ramp and driveway reconstruction on one side of the road, impacts to drainage also. Some utility relocations would also be required just to maintain adequate clearances along the corridor. And in general, it's a constrained, narrow width of a shared use path on one side of the road. It's a little bit less, it's not as wide as desirable. And our final alternative that's under consideration is a more intensive alternative that really reimagines the Stockton Boulevard corridor. It uses all of the right-of-way, even beyond the existing back of sidewalk, to be able to provide separated buffered facilities for cyclists, for cyclists, and then also a separate facility for pedestrians. And so those are the benefits. The higher, the trade-offs are the higher cost. The roadway widening requires sidewalk, curb ramp, and driveway reconstruction, as well as redoing the drainage system along the roadway. And there's a lot of conflicts that need to be addressed behind the existing back of sidewalk, including impacts to the overhead utility poles, the street trees, and property improvements with it that have encroached into the street right away, which include often parking or sometimes the on-site drainage. So in terms of our project status, as I mentioned, we're in the alternatives analysis phase right now that we anticipate completing by this summer. And what we would like to do by this summer is select the preferred route for the BRT service and to define which complete streets improvements would be advanced into the subsequent environmental review and preliminary design phase that would start the second half of this year. As we continue to work through the project, one of the other tasks will be to identify funding sources so that the project can be advanced, hopefully seamlessly, into final design and construction. And so that's what's shown on this slide, that in an ideal world, final design could start in 2028 and construction by 2030, but that is subject to being able to secure funds for those subsequent phases. And that wraps up the presentation, and I'm anxious to receive some feedback and happy to answer questions.
Thank you very much. Clerk, is there any members of the audience who wish to speak on this item?
Thank you. I do have one speaker slip, Dan Allison.
There he is.
Dan Allison, District 4. These are similar to comments that I made in the stakeholder meeting, but for the benefit of commissioners and the public. Safe crossing of Stockton should be a priority in the project. It's not just a transit and bicycle project, but it's really important that walkers be treated well. Driveway ramps are abundant in some sections, and most of them slope across the sidewalk, which is no longer acceptable. ProWag requires flat crossings in the sidewalks. And so driveways are going to need to be modified. And I think part of the project should consider closures and narrowing of driveways. The public requested in every phase of the Stockton project, and this is the latest, trees. That's what people talked about. There need to be trees to shade walkers and bicyclists. They're absent in some parts of the street. And healthy trees require a sidewalk buffer to grow in, and 8 feet should be the minimum. Center turn lanes are appropriate where there's a lot of driveway turning activity, but to continue center lanes throughout the project is just a waste of roadway space that could be used for other things. So they should occur where they're needed. Otherwise, left-hand turn pockets at appropriate places where they're really needed. The realignment of Route 51 to follow Route 38 is intriguing, and I would like to see more information on it. I'm very interested in that idea. Nothing in the design of the BRT project should preclude later elevation to light rail corridor. We shouldn't do anything that would prevent that if the ridership justifies it. And a comment not on this particular project, but there's a lot of housing going in on Stockton, particularly around 9th Avenue, and there's going to need to be improvements to sidewalks, sidewalk buffers, and trees related to those, well short of when this project actually goes on the ground. Thank you very much.
I have no more speakers on this item.
Thank you. Is there any commissioners who wish to speak on this item? Commissioner Rocha Patel.
Thank you for the presentation. I want to echo Dan's comments on the Route 51-38 hybrid alignment. I think that that is a very interesting alignment and alternative as well. Just to kind of give some context, other transit agencies also use JNL. So if the project does go with alternative 2 and take those lanes, then this could benefit everybody else. YOLO Bus uses it, Roseville Transit, Placer, El Dorado Transit. So it could potentially have a big regional benefit. And so if we're talking about the multimodal goal and bringing improvements to the to transform the corridor, then alternative 2 I feel would be more transformational in the long term. I guess we're still in the early stages of presenting this information and exploring alternatives, but I'd love to have that emphasized as we're talking about this facility, because it's not just SAC-RT that would benefit from it.
Mr. Wawali.
Thank you for the presentation. A two-part question. This is really about the design alternatives for the roadway. First, the cost discussion is already what was really abstract to me. When you're talking about the cost differences among the alternatives, these are orders of magnitude? Is it 50% more? Is there some way to understand that? And then maybe following Dan's suggestion about not having the middle turn lane everywhere, can you get alternative 3 in the same cost as alternative, and I think they were A, B, and C. Maybe I'm using the wrong A, B, and C. Alternative C for the cost of alternative A if you avoid some of that, using some of the roadway for a middle turn lane.
Good questions. I think I can answer the second one. I'll do the second one first. And so I think the intention is not to have that center turn lane, the extent of the corridor, and similar to what was suggested, open it up with left turn pockets at locations. However, that still does require the space. And so, and kind of dictate the layout of the overall corridor, we still need to reserve that space in the median. And so there are opportunities for landscaping and improving safety by limiting some of the left turns in and out of driveways with the median. But it doesn't, it wouldn't preclude, it wouldn't lead to us being able to implement alternative B or alternative C at the cost of alternative B. Alternative C costs more because we're reconstructing both sides of the roadway. Alternative B is one side. So you could almost think of it as, when you go from A to B, it's twice the cost, and when you go from B to C, it's 2 times the cost of B in terms of a matter of scale.
Commissioner Harris.
I lived in DC, went back to visit for an extended stay last year. And I can tell you, big city, savvy drivers with more of this familiarity, and no one knows what to do with bus lanes. We have special Sacramento drivers, as we all know, who have trouble understanding what I have been told by city staff is clearly understood other areas. I hate alternative A. I think it's the colorful what we already have option, and I have zero faith that it will be understood and respected by Sacramento drivers. I don't think it should be considered. I don't think it is an alternative. I think that's the lipstick on a pig alternative, and I will go further to say, if that is what the city chooses, I cannot imagine they would choose the same thing for the central city. I don't think it would be tolerated. We have divided, protected bikes throughout the grid. If we can do that in the central city, and we really want to imagine Stockton as a place people want to be, that isn't just a place people fly through on cars, we can do better. I'd like to see an alternative D that has trees, that has actual improvements. I love the idea of the bus. I know that's what we're talking about, but I do think this sells Stockton Boulevard short, and frankly is kind of embarrassing considering how great the central city is. So those are my comments.
Commissioner Rubinstein?
Thank you for your presentation. First of all, I want to appreciate everything that you're doing, working with all these partners, because that is not an easy feat. And if this project is done well, I think it could be really a model for how we do transportation in the future. Regarding the hybrid alignment, I personally think the hybrid alignment is better. It does service, I think, the Sutter Medical Complex. It also services, there's a complex, a state office complex at the 30th and R intersection. So I think that should be kept in mind, especially since state workers will likely go back into the office starting July 1st, if that plan continues. I'd like to echo Commissioner Harris's comments. Also, somewhat of an anecdotal story. I think San Francisco has bus-only lanes. I've driven in San Francisco. I've seen people use those lanes to just jump traffic and speed down the street. That happened to me last time I was in San Francisco, and it was not a safe experience for myself. I understand the cost predicaments. Personally, when I look at projects, especially projects such as this, that might be the first ones in the region, I like to start small and scale up based on our success. But for this one, I think we should go big or go home. Out of the given alternatives, I would do alternative C. I want to see that protected bike lane. If we can do it in the central city, if we're going to use Stockton Boulevard as a connector to the central city, then I think we need to go as big as we can with the safety. Thank you.
Commissioner Tao?
Thank you, Chair Gonzalez, and thank you, Mr. Goffin, for the presentation. My question is related to the middle turn lane. I think you had spoken about it a little bit. Wondering if there was feedback on removing that entirely, and then cars can kind of use the intersection if they needed to make a turn or make a U-turn, and just to have that real estate to kind of perhaps work with a little bit. So I just wanted to see if there was feedback on that.
There wasn't feedback on totally removing the left turn pockets, and I think from a traffic operations and safety perspective, they do provide a valuable function. In particular, if we're looking at repurposing travel lanes, it'll be important to have that space for left turn movements.
Got it, thank you.
Commissioner Moore. Oh, sorry. Got it. Thank you for the presentation. I will start off, I guess, small. In terms of crossing frequency across Stockton for pedestrians, because we can't control those as much as we can control the signalized intersections, have you all looked at or anticipating average crossing or average frequency of pedestrian crossings?
We haven't identified specific locations, but we do know that that's an issue, is providing better and more pedestrian crossings. And also something that we know is an issue is aligning the bus stops in the corridor where there are pedestrian crossings to encourage people to use the crosswalks when they get off the bus instead of darting across the street.
Okay. Yeah, and that's, love BRT. I want to see it here. I haven't actually taken it. I would love to experience it. But I could see that there's that tension, right, with the BRT systems that you are competing with a lot of other modes. And so just thinking about the balance there. How are you all thinking about connecting stops, or I guess integrating the stops and the bike lane and the BRT? Are we wrapping bike lanes around stops? Are we putting in transit connection points?
Sure, we've been putting quite a bit of thought into that and developing different prototypes for the BRT stations, and they include options where we do route the bike lanes behind the BRT stations to try to minimize that bus-bike conflict. There are locations where we have a little bit less space to work with, where we're trying to figure out solutions if the bike lanes have to stay in front of the stations. But I think our preferred option is to route, where we can achieve it, is to route the bike lanes behind the stations.
Got it. Okay. Detail questions. I know we're at the high level stages. Man, I'm glad some other folks talked first because I am in the minority. Okay, I think in terms of our alignment, everyone's a big fan of this, continuing it down Stockton. I think if we think about who needs transit, Stockton current 51 provides a lot of equity considerations in terms of going down Stockton, and then it goes through Oak Park, which has a high need. Large parts of Broadway have a high need. I think we now are experiencing the significant amount of development along Stockton. Oak Park is getting gentrified. It's where I live. And now we are going to implement this wonderful new BRT system, and we're just going to pull that further from that community and then just give it to Aggie Square, it feels like. And I have a really big apprehension and problem with that, I guess. And so, yeah, I personally would love to see this still routed and address the more equity forward issues that those communities who are currently receiving Route 51 continue to experience that and receive the better investment, rather than, again, thinking about who we can serve because of the either state workers or development. And I'm curious if either Chris or you can shed any light on conversations between Aggie Square and the city that may have occurred, partnerships, agreements between the city that have predicated this project around BRT supporting Aggie Square.
Yeah, there is no agreement like for Aggie Square in this project specifically. I know Aggie Square is under development agreement, and they are required to provide funding for certain intersections that they had a demonstrated impact on. But it's not related, to this project specifically. In terms of Aggie Square's involvement, we have a external stakeholders engagement committee. They're part of that, and along with a lot of the P-bids and the neighborhoods associations. So that about sums it up.
Okay, so I guess like in early environmental impact reports or things when Aggie Square was being developed or sought for approval, do you know if there were contingencies around needing to have, I'm concerned, I think, in the background that BRT continuing down Stockton and bypassing these underserved communities is kind of wet ink that hasn't dried yet. And I'm just curious to what extent maybe that is just me spinning out about it and what concerns, yeah.
So our technical analysis is underway right now to help inform what's going to be the selected alignment. And so as part of that, one of the things we look at is the existing ridership. That's very important to look at. And the existing ridership is stronger along the Route 51 than the Route 38. So that's something that is in the favor of selecting that alignment. As I mentioned, we also will run models that will predict the future ridership based on future development. And then some of the things you were talking about, we look at transit propensity. What are the demographics along the corridor? Zero household cars with zero car households, cars with me that have one household that, but multiple people, so that some people are still more dependent, looking at the age of the people and the income levels and different things. And so that all will kind of weigh in and help us on the technical side be able to provide data and information that can be taken into consideration for which alignment is selected.
Okay. as a closing statement, I think as long as we can put equity as a weight in addition to those technical studies, I would appreciate that, and I hope to think that that community would appreciate that as well.
And just in response to that, I'll let you know, we don't call it equity right now.
Yeah, fair enough.
All the things that we do to measure equity.
Perpetual poverty, whatever.
We just rebrand it, but we don't.
I want people who need transit and who have historically not been invested in to have the benefits of major city investment that is coming currently through the neighborhood and not immediately diverting it around. It's like the opposite of freeways crashing through your neighborhood. Okay, last thing on the complete streets. I was kind of in alignment with the this is a big project and start with what we can achieve and build up from that. I'm not at this point persuaded to diverge from that. I think a 5.5-foot bike lane, is not great, but you have 15-minute headways, and then you have, what is that, 16-foot bike lane, which, again, for the cost differences of having at least a protected bike lane, I don't think weigh in. I think where we start getting into that being worthwhile is the physical protection between vehicle travel lanes and BRT, which would include bike lanes, but I would love to see and echo the sentiment around vehicles not having access to BRT. And I think that is a worthwhile investment for preferring a more enhanced alternative. As far as the bike lane goes, if that for some reason falls off the table, a 5-foot lane that is 16 feet and goes down to 5 feet every 15 minutes for 12 seconds is okay for me. The other thing with the Class 1 path, it's a sidewalk. Like, you have so many people walking there, they're not thinking about bikes, they're gonna have families, they're gonna have bags. I don't wanna compete with all of the pedestrians on that sidewalk. That's just gonna lead to more conflicts. Vehicles leaving in and out of driveways are not thinking to look for bicyclists on the side. I get it. I am recommending it in plans in other areas of my work, but I'm not a fan of that kind of proponent, at least in this location and in this context, especially around, again, just the magnitude of Stockton. I think I'm partially confused. I've seen earlier plans of Stockton's complete streets efforts, and they are significant. The bike lanes are really wide or protected or class 1 paths. So I'm curious, I guess why we're seeing such minimal accommodations in this iteration.
Sure. I think one of the things that we saw when we saw some of those previous plans is that they looked at the entire width of the right-of-way.
Okay.
Which often extends beyond the back of the sidewalk where there has been a lot of encroachment. And so our alternative C that I showed was one where we looked at the full width of the right-of-way, and that's where we have the grade-separated bicycle facility and more space to work with if we don't restrict ourselves, but it adds a lot of costs.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. I think also, the notion, it does add cost, that's unfortunate, but this notion that over time, people just slowly take over city right-of-way, and now we all reap the cost of, I'm frustrated by that. So I am supportive of option 3, or 1C, I guess. The caveat being that the physical protection is for the BRT lane and not just the bikes. I think 5.5 feet unprotected is okay otherwise.
And I will just add, though, that it's not always private property encroachment, but it's also mature street trees and a lot of
Get rid of them. No, I want the more trees. I echo those sentiments as well. Just joking. Okay, thank you. I guess maybe that's on record now. A soundbite.
Commissioner Banks.
Thanks. I don't know what he had for dinner. Maybe that's the problem. I've given you comments already during the stakeholders meeting, so I won't go into those, but I want to echo 2 things. One is protected bike lanes. Please do not put that bike lane up on par with the sidewalk. We are seeing more altercations already, especially with people who are on e-bikes and or inappropriate e-bikes that are really actually e-motorcycles. So let's separate bikes from peds and bikes from cars and cars from buses. That would be really great. So I'm all in on the most expensive option, the one that gives us everything, because I think Stockton has the opportunity now, and this opportunity doesn't come around very often. Take the gold ring, let's get the money and build something that we're all going to be really proud of, because Stockton Boulevard has been a really beautiful corridor, and it deserves to be a beautiful corridor, and the connections points on both sides yet again. Thanks.
I just want to thank you again for the presentation. Stockton Boulevard has a special place in my heart. My first job as an outreach consultant was the Stockton Boulevard Complete Streets Plan. So I've been talking about BRT and all these different enhancements for 7 years now. And also it's my neighborhood. My neighborhood abuts Stockton Boulevard. I've traveled up and down it since I was a little child. My first memories of Stockton Boulevard are visiting the Wing Wall Market before I went to AJ's Karate as a little boy. Cold floors and karate on Sunday mornings is something I used to do a lot as a kid in the Lemon Hill neighborhood. And I still travel on this road almost daily. And with the addition of the housing elements, the Mercy housing element that just went in recently near the Goodwill, the parcel to the south of it, which is also slated for housing, the Gateway projects closer to Broadway, additional housing maybe by Luigi's, and enhanced retail, we're seeing a lot of just, uncontrolled crossings, right? A lot of people who are just like, I am here and I want to be over there, and the fastest way for me to do that with my feet is to put one foot in front of myself and get to the other side of the street, regardless if it's a controlled intersection or a crosswalk or not. I see a lot of it at WellSpace Health, see a lot of it at the shopping center with the Ross, right across the street as well. And you think about opportunities to partner maybe with some of these organizations and businesses. I know Ross, for example, has a community benefit grant program that they put out there. When I travel around the city of Sacramento, I see a lot of Rosses in neighborhoods where people are walking. Let's do some Ross walks. Let's do something, branded, do something different. Also, I know on 14th Avenue right now and Stockton Boulevard, there's some aggressive grant opportunities that are being pursued to put in creative crosswalks. So as we're doing crosswalks on this stretch, why not beautify it, right? Why not go I love what Commissioner Banks just said, like grab the golden ring. Like, let's think big and do some really cool stuff on here. In relations to the center turn lane and the turn pockets, we do have some really great mature trees. I know that palm trees aren't native, but when you go down to San Francisco Boulevard, we have a great corridor full of beautiful palm trees that are actually now finally being revitalized by the city, and their dead fronds are being trimmed, and it just looks wonderful. So anything we can do to enhance and continue to grow our tree canopy, unlike how Commissioner Moore thinks that we should remove it all. No, I'm just kidding. Let's keep doing that as well, because it does slow it down. On a serious note, same dashboard, Vision Zero. Between 2013 and 2025, we have 8 deaths in this project area. So this project is very, very much necessary, but we got to think about how people actually move. People, as the crow flies, as the feet walk, they go where they want to go. So let's consider all use types, not just BRT, not just cars. And with that, this is a receive and file. All items tonight were receive and file. I neglected to say that, so there's no vote required on this item, but yes.
Just one announcement. We're having our first public meeting on April 15th at the Oak Park Community Center. It's in the evening, right? 5:30. So it'd be great if some of you could make it.
Fantastic. And if you get a chance, I know Colonial Heights Library is open again, and this Saturday, the meeting room is going to be a ribbon cutting. So maybe next time, if you want to as well, right on the boulevard. Colonial Heights is a great place to have that meeting as well.
Flyer for that meeting?
Descriptive word of mouth.
Yeah, it'll be distributed through the City Express, City Media channels, and I'll share it with Chris.
Just so that we can also put it out on our socials.
Okay. All right, we have 2 items listed on the agenda, and we're 14 minutes up against the clock. I don't think we're going to need to make a motion to approve unless anybody has a lengthy thing they want to share. Okay, great. So next up is commissioner comments, ideas, questions. Any commissioners who wish to speak at this time? Vice Chair Gibson.
As Chair Gonzalez mentioned a moment ago, these are quite serious issues. Since our last meeting, there have been at least 3 fatalities in the of pedestrians in the Roebla neighborhood around 8 p.m. on March 7th. A 44-year-old man was struck on Norwood Avenue and Jesse Avenue. This was a hit and run. A 89-year-old man was hit and killed in Greenhaven Drive in the Pocket neighborhood on March 2nd. And then a 45-year-old woman was struck near the intersection of 22nd Avenue and Franklin Boulevard on February 22nd.
Thank you. Commissioner Risha Patel.
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up and kind of express something I noticed. A lot of the fatalities that we hear about every month are older citizens and older residents. So I think that as we're talking about equity or whatever we're calling it these days, we want to also consider that demographic in our conversation. So thank you very much, Commissioner Gibson, for your update.
Commissioner Banks.
I've got three things. I'll keep them quick. Number one is I wasn't at the budget committee where Commissioner Hodel presented about the ATC report, but she told me that it was really well received and that it was really great that we had dollars associated and it was very clear, and that's why it's moving to council. So I think we have a really great opportunity to push to have maybe something funded. I know it's always a long shot and we know we're facing a budget deficit, yada, 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 but let's push and let's see what we can do to get some things moving. So that's number one. Number two, Saba was just a little plug for us. We just got a grant for 2 e-bike pulled bike lane sweepers. So all the conversation that we always have about how we can't clean up the bike lanes, we now have some bike lane sweepers that we're going to be able to deploy and clean up some of the bike lanes that are such a mess often because it takes so much time for the city to get around to them. Program around that is being developed, but we're really excited about it, and we hope to have we're hoping to have 1 here by May. They're being built right now. And that leads me to number 3. May is Spike Month is coming up. I know it's March, but it feels like next week is May. As you know, Saba is hosting May is Spike Month, and I've reached out to all of the council members, both for sponsorship, but also to talk to us about activating some kind of activity in your district. Please don't wait till April because that's way too late. So please reach out sooner than later, and we'll see what we can't cook up in your area and do something really great during May. Thanks.
All right, if there's no other commissioners' comments, finally, I'm just going to make a plug as an informational item only to suggest that anyone who's watching this right now visit safersackstreets.com and find out more about a proposed citizens initiative to fund many of the things we need in the city of Sacramento. I don't want to politicize it right now, so just do your own research and determine how you might want to vote if that should come to pass. And with that, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chair. We have one speaker for matters not on the agenda, Matt Anderson.
Hey, everybody. Matt Anderson. I'm back and under 2 minutes. Congratulations on the recommendations. That's exciting. I look forward to that going to council and talking about it and getting funded. Yeah. Happy almost May is Bike Month. Really excited about those bike lane sweepers. That's going to be really cool. I think there was talk of Land Park having a few streets closed off, maybe potentially. So 1 street closed off. That would be a very cool place. Just throwing that out there. This comment was actually for the folks who left, but generally, BRT, when it's being put in, there was a big one done in Oakland, International Boulevard. They had it actually got more dangerous on the street as it was developed because they found people were cutting into the lane, speeding between the blocks, and people started dying at increased rates. So OCDOT and AC Transit have a lot of experience with that. There's a lot of push from the community in terms of things to do, including vertical delineators between the BRT, speed cushions on every block, things like that. So definitely recommend reaching out to them, any staff that is thinking about BRT. Also, there's art mix at the Crocker tonight. So if anybody wants to join me after this, the theme is something about marshes. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I want to just really quickly thank everybody in the audience tonight for coming out, everybody who gave public comment, everyone who gave e-comments online and who was here before all our presentations. We appreciate your participation. Everyone who gave comments, e-comments online for the budget recommendations, appreciate that very much. And with that, we are adjourned until April 16th, 5:30 back in City Hall.